Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Now, I chastise people because that is what a righteous person does. That's what Moses does in Deuteronomy, Isaiah, and so on and so forth. I'm not a big fan of it. I know they don't appreciate it because while they're trying to do the wrong thing, I'm chastising them, making them feel bad, maybe making it harder for them to do the wrong thing, hopefully making it harder for them to do the wrong thing. Okay, but that's the right thing to do. Okay, so in Deuteronomy 11, it says a lot of important stuff. Let's zoom in on the much anticipated part here, which is 11:22 through 32, I think it is here, which I have it written down right here. I don't have the rest of the chapter written down. I might have it typed up on my computer, but it was lost in transit, and I have trouble printing out things here, and ink costs an arm and a leg, and they're financially sabotaging me. So I'm working with what I have here. So let's talk about Deuteronomy 11:22. Hopefully, it didn't make it hard for me. Hopefully, it didn't make it hard for you to listen to me in the first clip. So you are actually still listening right now. And that's one of those things that provokes me. So it's a provocative act when these mockers, these scoffers do things like that, and I have to think, hey, maybe that's happened, or I see the video later and see it's happened. You don't see a lot of the provocations that go on. It's all day, every day around here. And that's part of why people are cursed, Jew and Gentile alike, everyone outside the divine order. Because when they're slacking their work, they're robbing me in tithes, they're robbing me in, resources, women, people who would help me get the message out, billboards, what have you. Why they're acting like some kind of smug Roman dog, a Neo-Roman, Neo-Greek dog, a female dog, and by that I mean the B word. They're acting like a synagogue of Satan monster, someone who claims to be a Jew or chosen. Maybe they're Gentile, they claim to be chosen, so claim to be a Jew literally or in a sense, and are really of the synagogue of Satan or some pagan group of Satan or some atheist group of Satan, some government group. You get it. So Deuteronomy 11:22. If you carefully observe all the commands I am giving you to follow, to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, and to hold fast him. Now let's start over again here. If, keyword if you carefully observe all these commands I am giving you to follow, to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, and to hold fast him. So I actually read it wrong twice in a row there. That's one of the consequences of them fuming. But you see how my message is still sound here. And I'm chastising them, or I'm clarifying things. But sometimes I stumble on my words or read it wrong. And I'm going to leave that and go ahead and upload that as it is. So again, if you carefully observe all the commands I am giving you to follow, right? I kind of paused before I said to follow. So if you carefully observe all these commands I am giving you to follow, to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, and to hold fast him, then the Lord will drive out all the nations before you, and you will dispossess nations larger and stronger than you, just like I've dispossessed the whole world, including America, including Iran, even Palestine, while they're being victimized because they're outside the divine order. Okay, their share of heaven is being pushed away because I'm observing God's commands, right? The word observe even starts with the part obi, right? Obi, serve. That's me. Obi means King Hard Hut Essence Centric Temple Core in Igbo. The word obi is Igbo spelled backwards. There's more than one way to spell Igbo. That's one of the ways. Okay, and Kuro Obi means black belt. Martial is marital scrambled. I, Christ, am the top martial arts. Even if you don't believe any of the wordplay and say, hey, a bunch of people of this world made the wordplay. But why did they make it exactly? You still see that the ideas are sound. The most disciplined and righteous person who strikes with focused moral intensity, the last valid top martial artist ever possible, and the top martial artist of all time ever possible. Lead, yes. Because if I'm not the anointed one, then who am I? Who am I to you? Obviously, I am Christ, and Christ in the end. So again, it says, if the covenant depends on them observing the commands, and a prudent servant will rule over a disgraceful son and share the inheritance as one of the family. So me as king, being someone who's part Jewish, if mankind was allowed to do something they're not, which is to continue reproducing, and I was to choose a successor, which I'm not going to do no matter what, okay, then I wouldn't look for how Jewish they are. I wouldn't look to the Jews first. I look to the good trees, and the Jews are among the worst trees when it comes to spiritual works. They don't have the fruit. The rabbis don't. The crypto Jews in the churches don't. The political Jews don't. The rich Jews don't. The Jews down the street, so to speak, they don't have the works that make them an impressive group of people. So I wouldn't look to them first. And, the exception that doesn't make the rule is not that impressive there either, unless you're talking about me. Okay? That's how you maintain the measuring line and plume line of righteousness and justice. Not by being a Christian Zionist. If you don't know that, you're an idiot. Then the Lord will drive out all the nations before you, and you will dispossess nations larger and stronger than you. That has to do with martial power, spiritual power. Power, spirit, right? Spirit. But the essence of it is spirit, not flesh. Not actual flesh-based battles. Spirit. Principles. Spiritual movement. That's why in the New Testament, when it says put on the armor of God, it's not talking about, go to some kind of metal worker and have some kind of ancient armor made for you. It's talking about figurative, spiritual armor. The battles are spiritual first and foremost. And not in some kind of trance-like, corny psychology way, actual spiritual battles that when you describe them, people know that that's what's going on, right? Principle-based, spirit-based. Every place where you set your foot will be yours. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon and from the Euphrates River to the Mediterranean Sea. No one will be able to stand against you. The Lord your God, as he promised you, will put the terror and fear of you on the whole world wherever you go. Now, am I afraid of the Jews? Why they claim to be establishing things like it says here in Deuteronomy 11? They claim to be doing that. Am I afraid of them? Okay. Some people are afraid of them for the wrong reason. They're afraid of them like they're afraid of a wild animal, like they're afraid of the devil because they don't serve God. But I, as someone who serves God, I'm not afraid of them, and they're adverse to me. And Satan means adversary. They're my adversary. They're not giving me my rightful place. Whoever doesn't gather with me scatters. They're scattering. And many of them are deliberately getting in my way. Am I afraid of them? No. Are they afraid of me? Yes. Are they afraid to spar me fair and square? Yes. Are they afraid to debate me? Yes. Because they're not right with God. They're not keeping the covenant. They're not chosen. And why do I emphasize this? Because it's one of the most important things to say these days, and I'm going to keep saying the important things that need to be said the most. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing if you obey the commands of the Lord, your God, that I'm giving you today. The curse if you disobey the commands of the Lord, your God, and turn away from the way that I command you today by following other gods, which you have not known. So write down Deuteronomy 11, verses 26 through 28. I'm going to read them again here. I'm going way over time. This video is not coming out the way I'd like it to come out, but the truth is still being said here. See, I'm setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing if, keyword if, you obey, keyword obey, the commands of the Lord your God that I'm giving you today. The curse if you disobey the commands of the Lord your God and turn from the way that I command you today by following other gods which you have not known. When the Lord your God has brought you into the land you are entering to possess, you are to proclaim on Mount Gerizim the blessings, and on Mount Ebal the curses. Notice the word Ebal is like the word Ebo, except for they put the word Baal there. Okay? Now, Baal has to do with the curses that are going to them. They'll worship Baal and they'll suffer as a result, like it says in Ezekiel. So again, Ebal has to do with the Ebo, the king, right? Observe, Obi, serve, right? The Obi meaning King, Heart, Hut, Essence, Center, Temple, Core, and Ebo. and you know them by their works, by their deeds. The wordplay by itself doesn't prove anything. My top martial artist challenge, my heritage does. Now, so they're cursed to follow Baal. Now, Baal's Egyptian equivalent is Set. Now, why is that important? Because in the Bible we see when some place becomes desolate, they often say that it becomes a haunt for jackals, a haunt of jackals, of detestable animals, unclean birds. The Egyptians described it as well. Set, a deity of the desert, the setting sun, of jackals, of chaos, of rape by deception, of rape, of misery, of suffering, of darkness, the color red, and so on and so forth. So in the next verse it goes on to say, as you know, these mountains are across the Jordan, westward toward the setting sun. Westward toward the setting sun. Near the great trees of Moreh, in the territory of those Canaanites living in the Arabah, in the vicinity of Gilgal. So I said Arabah a little bit weird, but okay. So there's a lot of wordplay with the Arabah and the Gilgal, but I'm way over time. I'm going to have to do some clever maneuvering to upload these videos. I even had to remove the YouTube app. Okay, so let's just kind of keep going here. You are about to cross the Jordan to enter and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you. When you have taken it over and are living there, be sure that you obey all the decrees and laws I am setting before you today. Okay, so you see that this part makes it clear that the covenant isn't something that is going to be for all the Jews. I can't stress that enough. Israel misrepresents it, and people play stupid about it. There's people who are, there's Jews and otherwise, and Christians and other people who pretend that it's not, it isn't talking about Israel, but they pretend that it's magically talking about them. For example, the Jewish diaspora, say the left wing that doesn't approve of Israel, the rules also apply to them. Just because they're not in Israel doesn't mean they're not cursed. They are cursed because they're cheating me out of my right to lead. Okay? So it says you have to carefully observe the commands, and that means the chain of commands. Okay, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, right? What have you? Thou shalt not fume and poison the Messiah. Thou shalt not be a freaking coward. Thou shalt honor the Sabbath. Every time there's a Sabbath and they're outside the divine order, they're not honoring the Sabbath. Okay, if you break one of the rules, in a sense, you break all the rules. Okay, in Proverbs, right? Fear the Lord and the king, and don't join in rebellious officials. So they're all in rebellion. So they're being cursed, and they're following Baal as a result, right? They're assimilating to the left-right paradigm, the good Jew, bad Jew psychology of the Baalist system of the world. Babylon, right? Baal, one of the deities of Babylon, right? And Nebo, a deity of science. Now, again, the Igbo people themselves, the rules also apply to them. Just because you're an Igbo or in my family or whatever doesn't mean that you're not cursed from cheating me out of my right to lead. So Nebo can also be an Igbo who's interested in science, okay? But it's not limited to that. Nebo is a deity of science, and these arts and crafts basically come from Africa, right? Martial arts, what have you. So the evil martial arts come from Africa, just like the good martial arts. Cain and Abel come from Africa, right? They come from the spiritual realm that they associate with the Middle East in the story, but they physically, as physical people, come from Africa, okay? And the spiritual realm, first and foremost, is associated with Africa. Royal African Falcon martial art, or Amos 9:7. Are you not the same as the Cushites under me, O children of Israel? And after Noah had his offspring, who was the mighty warrior for the Lord? It was Nimrod. Ham begot Cush, Cush begot Nimrod. He was a mighty warrior for the Lord. Babylon was right with God at that time. Later on, Babylon falls. God gives Babylon a chance, and Nebuchadnezzar drops the ball, and he's a bad guy, and he worships Nebo. His name is named after Nebo, the deity Nebo, Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, and so it falls again, but it was, in a sense, it always fell after Nimrod. Okay, and then I'm the top martial artist, not some white guy or Jew or Asian or whoever, but me, somebody from a strong black African patriarchal line. Okay, so that's one thing that's misunderstood in the Bible. And I'm not a racial supremacist. I'm even mixed. I just tell the truth. I have no reason to lie about anything, especially racial issues, as I'm mixed. I live in a place that's 77% black, Southfield, Michigan, right by Detroit, which is about 75% black. They're not all rallying and obeying God through me. And back in California, when I went to Oakland, what have you, they weren't rallying either. Okay, I have no reason to play favorites. I just tell the truth.